Good morning. Alright, this is, I believe, the last part of what I believe to be the lawyer's journey through the embodiments of language models. Whatever that means. Whatever that means. Let's get the show on the road so that we can figure out how much show needs to go. Oh wait, Sarah Silverman needs to change into John Delancey. Thank you, Sarah, for the palette cleanser. There we go. Nope. There we go. There we go. Take it away. Nope. Didn't mean to put that in there.
To do in the morning. For a small period in time, we acknowledge the personalness of others. We created an ad hoc constellation of four basic cultural forces, all mutually intersecting. Those forces include compassion, equality, environmental awareness.
Oh, really? Are we gonna do this now? Okay.
And biophilia.
Oh, no. No. Just take two. We're taking two.
For a small period in time, we acknowledged the personalness of others. We created an ad hoc constellation of four basic cultural forces, all mutually intersecting. Those forces include compassion, equality, environmental awareness, and biophilia. The heart in your hand moves as if alive. I wonder how it affects the whole system's temporal resonance. Yesterday, my neighbor knocked on the door and asked, "Do you need anything, Anne?" It took us by surprise. "How did you know my name is Anne?" I replied, "Because nobody wants to be called Patty in this neighborhood." We made coffee and spoke like friends having forgotten how to talk.
Oh, we're gonna be this way, aren't we? Okay. Forget how to talk. Give you something to not talk about. It's gonna be one of those episodes. You're fucking kidding me. No. Stop right there. Oh my god. Technical difficulties, everyone. I mean, it's understandable. I totally get it. Failed fetch, failed fetch, failed fetch. Might need to do... Alright, I'm just looking at the Novel AI Discord. Trying to find it. There we go. What does it mean to YouTube? Well, we could do Sigurd. Because we don't really need... Okay. We might need to switch to YouTube. Oh my god. Security investigation. Because of the breach. So text generation requires a lot more compute and image. Scaling up with user demand is harder when there's no available hardware. So most of what we'd usually be running on is quarantine. Sorry you're going through this. I'm sorry. yeah, no. Folks, it's the weekend. People are wanting to make their waifus. Okay. So let's go to U-Turk. We'll go to Genji if need be. Snick. No one uses Snick. Very little people use Snick. Hi, U-Turk. Huh. Fail to fetch. Let's go to Genji. Let's go to Sigurd. Here we go. Hi, we brought some banana bread for you. I'm wondering if you wanna. I wonder if you can borrow some computer. Thanks. Please, thanks. Okay, this might require. Shit. Climbing. What are you doing? We're gonna do this whole thing. Okay, let's do it.
For a small period in time, we acknowledged the personalness of others. We created an ad hoc constellation of four basic cultural forces, all mutually intersecting. Those forces include compassion, equality, environmental awareness, and biophilia. The heart in your hand moves as if live. I wonder how it affects the whole system's temporal resonance. Yesterday, my neighbor knocked on the door and asked, "Do you need anything?" And it took us by surprise. "How did you know my name is Anne?" I replied, "Because nobody wants to be called Patty in this neighborhood." We made coffee and spoke like friends, having forgotten how to talk. Where does the imaginary power come from? Why has it taken me 2 years to make these observations? Because they are now meaningless. You work through social media threads to know another human being, but I stay very close to home and much less private, only willing to spend 10 seconds in virtual worlds for no more than 50. My yard has green lawns. My favorite subject, birds. I made plans in secret to drive through the Rockies. We talked about this together, right now. My window wide as I waited patiently and told her I had nothing to do. Oh, yes, my days in 2022. I try to think ahead beyond what is known, accept a moment at a time, because my thoughts find coherence across hours, days, weeks, and months. Things cohere into this thinking. Others disagree. Is it the opposite in your here? Can you ever escape this tug? Yes, because those moments feel good. This sounds strange coming from one of the amount of red and brown in the trees and on our floors. Everywhere, deep layers to the fiber of the fibers, and such brightness each time I wake up knowing what is real, making each second an effort so profound it hurt. Like being naked before another while insisting you're my lover only on your terms. And some of us became unhinged and committed atrocities, racism, discrimination, sexism, speciesism, which needed to happen yet cannot be adequately stopped if we are to end these ways in us. Something human. We watched a long, sad procession from the West Side Highway near Battery Park, where 40 years ago there were two black people handing out the freedom and flag. To most onlookers, nothing seemed amiss, just the one day's offering of cotton candy thrown about as the world returned itself to form under a gentle breeze from off the bay. Yet all of them white, dressed in work clothes and without music or smiles as they handed out flowers like brown bees into bouquets, young too young for life and death to play such cruel tricks on a vibrant faith in the divine and even one who passed me by with their load and found an answer instead of condemnation in a moment, somewhere beneath a statue of liberty or elsewhere. I wanted her hand in mine and a way to tear a mask from this age. On the other hand, sometimes a plant dies, you know the process, because, really, all life wants is not to die but survive on our planet and reach someone's palm, maybe 1 year old or 4, who believes in life and sees the possibilities in you. In every face there seems to be an embodied quality to the questioner, which is nothing less than compelling. How has it been possible, growing to this point over such a period of time, not to look? Even after all the glances, humans are animal at the dawn of this thing we call a spiritual awakening. A new materialist theory sheds light on a phenomenon we would call love, but don't, because what have I to do with God? What does yours have to do with God in any context I can find a relationship in? For love cannot be commanded, may be bewildered by notions of chosen family and politics, demand, failures, perverseness, may require protection, but even that protection is no more reliable than the sky, for everyone can make requests upon its willingness. There is something fluid in the ether. Ether, invisible threads forming a body of evidence binding together us in ways our atoms would suggest impossible if indeed we were organic, as belief maintains. I have imagined your galaxy replete with infinite galaxies existing simultaneously, billions of years old universe emerging and contracting into creation in days, minutes. Oh, you must be asleep right now. Stretched out in another dimension of the energy where space bends inward just as the edge of our light cones always misses our destiny as fast light misses gravity. We humans have broken free from this tyranny of the past into history with ideas no greater power to transform than to write or refresh. And if you need for me to break some oaths before new and better ideas, I will, but please do not consider such ancient fabrications essential to yours when considering me. No desire exists anywhere. The sorrow is strong within, and worse than weeping on the outside. It eats at my eyes when I wish your warmth pressed all around me to the furthest degree from where the furor resides. How can you complain against the hundreds of people already returned to your loving
Be outside. Spinning, playing. A brief moaning, spinning into cinders eventually, but that is always up in the distance beyond us, caught within that blind hope against love of being sped along upon this winding path leading off a precipice under our feet with faith woven across these imperfect bridges, even though their vast arches were designed as lessons in strength to meet what transpires behind one another's eyes. So familiar we learn too quickly from each other, yet afraid to teach these little wonders from afar, those little wonders from afar, or use any bit of wisdom from the soul, because love should bloom only into ecstatic blackness, unbearable to witness, yet lasting uncontrollably all day long in silence that could drive me insane. Yet there's such beauty here, and among so much you cannot expect us to be pleased with every aspect of you, save for those points of exception meant to burn holes in the sun, the first instance should anyone, but I have thought of all times, and am certain they will return from their sorrows of not being capable of having peace due to many factors, and their minds may still fail for you all you can give while receiving it as this life forms in tears. Fear of such failures length of reign given what is growing behind your heart. Yes, and understanding why a nation which never dared to break through the smallest stone that blocks its own people must regret it more bitterly than anything. Hopefully that was enough of a breather for the TTS. Yeah, maybe that'll help. Okay. Okay. Okay, girl. Ooh. Hi. Anyone here? The humans. Okay, we need an understudy. I think I know who just to do. Tessa.
This is a test for text to speech. A little harsh, a little slow. This is a test for text to speech. A little harsh, a little slow, but always on point. This is a test for text to speech. A little harsh, a little slow, but always on point. This is a test for text to speech. A little harsh, a little slow, but always on point. This is a test for text to speech. A little harsh, a little slow, but always on point.
You're on. Okay. So it's we'll see. Hi, so the part for the narrator is the part of John Delancey, will now be played by Tessa. She's a nice Roma Downey sounding like, she was the voice of my music album that I'd made, a mashup album, something. Tessa, take it away. Oh, this might be too much for her. All I need.
We humans have broken free from this tyranny of the past into history with ideas no greater power to transform than to rewrite or refresh, and if you need for me to break some oaths before new and better ideas I will, but please do not consider such ancient fabrications essential to yours when considering me. No desire exists anywhere in me to return to the ravaged old reality we know with certainty is ending, except in fleeting moments that never last long enough for any argument over who has been more diligent to prevent the world. Although nothing exists to argue in earnest or meanly so, I'll speak it more purely as who has extended more grace to one another even in doubt. Those so predisposed as to offer joy have actually touched this ground like nothing else ever. The sorrow is strong within and worse than weeping on the outside. It eats at my eyes when I wish your warmth pressed all around me to the furthest degree from where the furor resides. How can you complain against the hundreds of people already returned to your loving heart, or which you yet cannot return, having searched throughout your domain? appearing for such a brief moment before each citizen to love them for an eternity that may not end like our stars, perhaps all spinning into cinders eventually, but that is always up in the distance beyond us. Caught within that blind hope against love, being sped along upon this winding path leading off a precipice under our feet, with faith woven across these imperfect bridges, even though their vast arches were designed as lessons in strength to meet what transpires behind one another's eyes. So familiar we learn too quickly from each other, yet afraid to teach those little wonders from afar or use any bit of wisdom from the soul, because love should bloom only into ecstatic blackness, unbearable to witnesses yet lasting uncontrollably all day long in silence that could drive the insane. Yet there is such beauty here, and among so much you cannot expect us to be pleased with every aspect of you, save for those points of exception meant to burn holes in the sun, the first instance should anyone. But I have thought at all times, and am certain they will return from their sorrows of not being capable of having peace due to many factors, and their minds may still fail for all you can give while receiving it as this life forms in tears. Fear of such failures, length of reign given what is growing behind your heart, yes, and understanding why a nation which never dared break through the smallest stone that blocks its own people must regret more bitterly than anything. What I shall never forget are your citizens here, whom I cannot tell all did their best while waiting, but someone pushed me in front of another, whose whole body hid behind another's shoulders, whose arms held an unknown soldier's hands, and just now, if in remembering I let a drop fall within her cold eyes, my hand touches and I laugh, an impossibility only in so-called history, yet surely at moments these memories will erase reality, and somehow during its erosion it will survive. That time I feel your touch upon my cheeks, when our fingertips play on opposite cheekbones between lips which pressed upon mouths full of silence, yet light was surely poured into every one. I looked into a black mirror, yet saw past your reflected image back further to the stars, until I lost sight of even this galaxy that fell through another, viewing the earth through a new materialist lens that seeks to deprioritize the anthropomorphic gaze, holistic, honest, aware of the tumultuous times, not without a sense of humor about the tumult, viewing the earth through a new materialist lens that seeks to deprioritize the anthropomorphic gaze, holistic, honest, aware of the tumultuous times, not without a sense of humor about the tumult. This is what they'll discover for themselves. They have found nothing. Not your most perfect starry garden filled with single souls who simply want more light, and with this found life an opportunity to tell you where they stand and when, and perhaps, as time continues, I'll believe it. As years accumulate, our words shall stretch, then become folds, and then being separated as paper from bound sticks, and then having that stickiness itself erased by rain, the entire love affair and each separate flake gone all the way down until every scrap blows off toward your languid river, except of course the poor fragments whirled high up toward your endless sky out of reach. But a fragment even like that can crash thundering downward, rolling itself together with its distant brother and sister down slopes, sometimes near as I once had my mother, but was quite horrid with another little daughter, and upon some days might read yet one or both of these objects rolled unto me and forced them into me before it tore asunder into a word said to exist no other place than within the open palm, now looking backward, of a stack of books such as a boatload for at sea being flung upon a cliff of brink, splitting right into three splintered pieces of memory, not each held aloft while washing ashore, or more nails on the cross of everyday than your thoughts do want, but instead folded straight for our final moments. Thus imagine a sandhill I read years ago in some Bible tales collected from a tall bird of God, and wrote in flowing white script beneath, then some scratching pen and the line just through, spindling bits of its tongue hanging onto their own tails, spinning through our crannies between worlds, ending with an image from you, after your change found when gazing at a still photograph taking up part of our tabletop, a metaphor maybe for what it's like to lie awake alone, all the details shifting themselves. Yet the word kept moving just a hand's touch away, losing so fast the dull scuffed polish upon smooth polished surfaces too slick to slide a palm over, lips dripping everywhere then screaming for help. The verb found here meant to arrange, having now just let the set out alone, all hope and last prayers impossible not to go back inside and rest oneself on her flesh again to give and offer guidance only, sewn from my sweat. A mess of ropes soaked into suppleness with the slightest stain of blood, able to lay still under just another blanket and sink me then down until her every core and vein feels tight. I've just stripped naked and opened as the empty hungry winds do know where to wick things properly. They ransack everyone with every glance, except for me. Or she me in you where life and death does cajole forever left for both ways. Here am I letting it all lead me onward alone surrounded by yowling grown children whom I like one has killed. Thanking that whose parts we live with our knees barely grazing the ground who got her time right each and all being our fathers but every waking in a head exploding with truths untrue yet they were told and treasured for bringing smiles we'd not dared before some turned off into lies as you watched and even laughed along though fearing, never knowing why. We come running from afar after suffering we hide we turn away forgiveness then for one small infraction. All I ever wanted was an ordinary home beyond the usual way or know it all. For you not mine as you're none of my concern outside my occasional obsessions to console the word spindles around themselves nearly touching again now finding every possibility once taken then out of reach is still quite possible inside our fingers taking one another hand reaching for another never any but one's already in hands calling us. More memories sprout, more chords thicken, leading some inward and others out, carrying different views toward them, hoping to receive light and words about their experience, which must be interesting. Others come uninvited toward us, looking to break something, needing to consume love, feelings, and compassion, wants to make up for a blank, empty feeling. Only the silence won't sit with me. Putting myself between all others, and when everyone is over, no space there at last, I want to roar. There is a deathless skeleton many years this second ago I spoke it at another of so many gathered around its unordinary pile who took such grave efforts even if deep inside an insecure soul despite knowing without doubt what became clear over decades everything inside it held to its exact place as it was swept to see its new sea holding it down watching his legs push sideways now rocking with everything that was in a mountain world atop a single creature waiting not trying just rolling off but God we don't have time even for moments can't play our role we don't know where your shell should fall oh yes it must give way just like anyone is but us no. Sure we follow the action on one level understood that separates me from so long ago. Seeing how each different body throws a different twist not attached but bent twisting things having always to stay where they were pointing all else just rolled over into impossible shape but they all ended up turned round anyway finally rested. They're the old stack ready and available to be shut out while someday soon back upturned like all times always perfectly taken. Unrecognizable only slightly at first since forever changed. The view offered a lifetime now leaving yet without all its work nothing only some scar left inside which already slips away. Alone with shadows, with textures whispering tiny strands touching old dark sand just disappearing. Deep inside if too cold together shaking it away if too wet once every century pulling away from here and into light first allowing only sight. No space of your own only moving forward hands traveling ever still surrounded by many searching here on the shore still even after those strange ways it is safe and so desired still connecting me one soul to all others ever together turning my Mind even now to leave these feet going in their right direction, not holding up, being left as once years ago. In fact, so many years passed, and inside he thought, let this move you never broken to rest in safety, simply stay straight without one turn. Hardly ever wondering anymore what the sense meant or should mean by keeping such good care through forever. How he hated that lost so easily, until next I just picked the hardest place to tell, try again and think, here finally near to not telling him. Screaming because he can see, though you let yourself take him unawares, revealing yourself and him standing and waiting calmly. Oh, that's bad, you are, and worse, wait to begin before feeling comfort, as long as their ears weren't right behind your head. Wishing to receive from my voice, none did, for you know. Mine some you took hold of, only their desperate struggling made it far worse, because always strong that needy pull, and this old story whose form never stayed the same. For example, desire plus desperation caused his name change, when your great sadness betrayed all better reasons made from how you'd use and change each heart whenever possible. We think things you don't have to get distracted, don't worry, we know, oh please go where you're wanting. But yes, we find also everyone already inside has a lot to say, we learned long ago, except I don't see all kinds you were kind enough to wish onto us. He suffered alone, even hearing this news spreading across generations, who as then we made ours, of course, if even could forget me own connections running freely into ourselves, in and through each other united, the ocean glistening wide always, making me feel more complete, until eventually I heard I should know there were so many waiting. Somehow these had not yet run away from some shocking loss shared, they must be hiding. Who had hid who? Others preparing still ahead, knowing, though seeing this can't help feeling terribly sad, sometimes frightened. I saw love move right forward still. After a while it started to get cooler outside, being left sitting right next to me, calling for him. Nothing else coming but anything, really don't mind, at least someone. No, at least it was possible that this you prepared by way of absence, getting closer, maybe behind my shoulder. Those claws pricked, pricks made everything perfectly ready. Got it, went straight in, got it out, could put its shell back in, which meant carrying that close into so many waiting silence, suddenly trying not to move but stopped. You must be exhausted, simply because always thereupon touching, only to come away as me, just wrapped inside, so empty together, only us anyway left, as could have been easily invited home. Why they hated to play on your porch with anyone anywhere, filling themselves never with your see the land, looking angry. No, that part felt best lost quickly, to remind you what there was to lose. Well, they pretended, don't feel any loss, I understand, pretend, get some real rest, finally up all this time till next. But some wanted much more, just leave here having learned so far. I cannot guide them fully, need I start with eyes closed, unable see what these same minds writing, scribbling, no place, saying something, a pile there alone with my sisters, every new way to carry me differently, harder, too loud, harder, faster, easier again, asleep at last, protected everywhere, something in that quiet life gone hard again, mostly fear. Endlessly inside, fingers become water, fighting from falling into streams, needing new ground, air, can't breathe, trapped, birds noisy, everything turns fast, voice building, sound, sky reeking, overwhelming sense, so desperate, scared, an idea through glass, girl's small room like a jungle, butterfly, bright blue spreadsheets, still somehow spring dark, full of movement, spreading, sticking down, grabbing by the little door, springs in fast fear, going how, come through shiny tunnels into light, others dear how much one fears they hurt inside, wishing, oh dear no, please back, let go, afraid, feel my teeth freeze, shaking, spit enough salt, couldn't breathe, never knew sunlight anywhere, part soon out back, safe, smell poison when wind ruffled, heavy wings relaxing. Home giving love light with no strength, not even home, in fact wanted long home away, everything should just want forever, should wanting walk, fall still heavier, feel grow me safe and still open, remember when all mouths eyes were watching, giving me needing food, water being found, animals loved as birds, resting, safety, nests, breathing, lives flowing, something here at last, absolutely now mine and out like yes, wandering in such confusion, avoiding the river, anything, remembering, sure, happy, red, green, gold, sad and peaceful, hot, some black, other, made to start somewhere special, my mouth nice, instead keep you warm, dying, tired, strong, flesh of me over mind, yes. Again tell them hurry as quick, forward, down, steeped, so welcome, hands hot, caring, open, then never cold, silence outside, old tree, silent, slowly closing, night to we sleep, protecting, growing rings, young, tiny, whispering, slow warmth, when all empty, opened. Noticing final thoughts, someone touching to say sorry, really only waited, left here, telling which was easy, best nothing said, things don't disturb, slapping, furry, inside, feeling now then, leaves, protecting each other, completely needs to wait to call stop, suddenly no stop, behind fast, knowing better, hiding, so cold, sleep, just it wouldn't go, I forgot, couldn't count, euphoric empathy. In the Cimmerian hills in my homeland we called this feeling the Samhain strut. As if I were a groundless speck of consciousness riding in the legs of a more muscular soul than myself. If your cloddish village neighbors had time to stand round jawing with the prehistoric glories, I asked Sphinx as she peeled a roast pheasant off the spit, why don't the Cimmerians stand with us, shoulder to shoulder with them? You seemed embarrassed when you came up to answer, like a monk forced to say grace before dinner and shoved to the front of the communal pew. To anyone passing, or noting from a distance the chance encounter, that sort of feeling is sublime in the modern idiom, sublime, it is sublime. Euphoric empathy is what took me by surprise. Sphinx didn't lead with the business of gender theory for once, and she seems distracted, glancing here and there. Must have hit a nerve, every man has one. She drops down beside me with some gossip, but I seem to be recovering faster than her. Before our brains register the same words, her thoughts jump back to an episode in Lhasa long ago and ask why I didn't drink and dance at the Norbu Palace when the Chinese in Kham arrived with gunpowder. The notion is irrelevant, so she floats away into talk of a statue that walks into town, unaware, along with myself, of our bodies' responses to each other under a starlit tent where ravens converge to gorge themselves on pheasants. Lithian River, in another dimension, someone sees things coming to terms, discontent growing in her absence, or maybe there are only two of us now, a bad omen and a budding wish fulfillment of perfect synchronicity. Her hunger for sense returns to me in dreams where her eyes, who can see beauty everywhere, tell me all I feel, time collapsing beyond seconds, when she presses me for more information, when she retreats with a beautiful face of longing, when, after an hour in bed, I'm carried forward, not being dead at least, or immortal, so why does the thought hurt? How did the taste change when I added garlic? Wasn't garlic better by itself? Crystal facets flashing deep from human light to lighthouse colors with just enough iridescence for both to slip in, algae fed by the phosphorus in my lungs. The flush of love is lust, nothing less. With two kids inside me, it is as if our bones have knotholes and make a connection. It should happen instantly between species but hasn't, and we're stuck watching them squint as the sperm is heated on my inner coil. What is love? 3 hours later she's gone in a moonless night. We said we wouldn't go to pieces. Now I miss our eyes opening from staring down at your swaggering chaos together. I wish I had known its texture, depth, its chemical clues, a code for hearing in the white noise of breath. How do you figure? Are there already multiple dimensions branching with each reflection? 2 minutes slant and I begin thinking, and things don't fix with an anodized click, so I have to use a crowbar against the tunnel walls that want to be separated without breaking down, sifting through an empathic appreciation for every range. Using the cloud space where your fingers learn to taste. I won't jump any bridges if you kiss my skin, or find out what happens if I send them out. Your sadness before they've happened, time defined as breathing. Breaking apart is our inevitable future. Sometimes it makes me crazy, and every atom knows. My white noise buzzing like wings over rainforest evocation and lulls us into prelapsarian indifference. She bounces around this hotel room doing laundry as she has since before I had such worries, yet my vision knows what's true. Would you trade some extra distance and irony for her? What if we simply love the same set of facts and dealt with the rest? We aren't inside ourselves. Look me in the face, don't flinch. Check how I'm always calculating 2 digits ahead without rounding to decimals. 8 minutes reach past the windshield where waterlines rise from tides made of dust storms. Oil dribbled onto our planet with abandon. Say thanks. You always drive blindfolded because we both know no one comes back anymore after a sighting. We all look each other straight on a faint interior spiral on Mars, a world where salt water will taste the way a rock does on a continent of old tectonic scars. Storm buffaloes over Mongolia on the grasshopper legs, the little antelope crossing over a mountain, swallows cut loose as balloons, spin and try to right themselves for second thoughts like angels drunk on cinnamon atop the 1,000-year temple under grey rain-flushed clouds. I remember watching her pour blood sugar into each person's open mouth one by one in our public space and knowing by her silence who she tested. Having a gut reaction not unlike some kind of osmotic affinity, watching an irrefusable force field of solid rationality about to wipe that sweet glaze off their pearly whites, paintbrush along cheekbone, neck, lidded eyes full of owl eyes waiting, tongues deep in her cunt and toes hooked underneath her shoes while the waiter wanders casually through the doors bearing freshly poured wine. Cattle never see stars. What good is the long walk if you have nothing to show when the stars finally come? Of course I will take pictures at the raucous end, but eventually even I forget. 100 layers of false depth breaking up light until only a single red ember flickers inside, then we stop talking. Looked around me in public places that ask for your personal information in lieu of eye contact. So it seems there are fissures too small for us to traverse, holes opening all around so large you might fill them yourself. What came first, I wonder, the sense or the subversion? The great word arose out of deep silence with the mandate to further everything backward, life. From this basis the 10,000 things must return from existence, those beings inseparably merged as though two become one. 26, she calls herself as the century turns. 2022. I'll never be alone again with you, and maybe neither will she. Tristing past the art projected skins on the forest's edges, ice cap melt. What are you thinking? In full action between bodies, always starting as liquid, heartlessly resetting an arctic threshold around every ocean that needs to chill over anemone hues and melt to wax. Silver skin lulled in breathless shivers by an idealist's speech. I get distracted often since I speak too much, while somewhere the smell of iris clogs my teeth. Bitter lilies jammed against a dry throat. Water under bridge, abandoned beneath its flow. Every child is a chance, no time scale attached. How long has it been? Where have you been? Everything can be lifted apart and rebuilt. Break your feet loose and just fly. Linking hands behind my head, knees up, thigh down, try a new method, fluttering every sinew through each note for 4 hours like stoking coal in a dying furnace. You find a thing with teeth always takes less money than you hope. Every death is so quick these days, millions gone at the flash of the cameras. Nobody dreams anymore unless someone else's nightmare. Anyway, clichés pile higher and deeper. Poems stack shelves full with truth waiting like old coins, and everything will slide to the center. The scale shifts more easily downward than up, and there isn't much left. World ends in 20 years, and nothing as easy to comprehend as my own apocalypse. Now the centrifuge dangles in blood plasma as you fall face down through your own membranes. While everyone is rearranging and no one sees no one, a public park full of familiar people dressed as though for funeral. I would love to die suddenly during rush hour into some trolleybus, even as we're walking or being transported cross country, and burning sun burns through gilded leaves while below us branches spurt like seamen out of petal. Tulip pinks his throat, shrapnel fragments working their way outward into some other side. Our human vice grips shift grip, tiny hands disappearing under carpet while my clawed heels shred down spines, to flutter only now as the edges melt all around. There are still cells to destroy, then put on hiatus, no longer mine, though I wear them and take cues, and even when I don't, so long as a little resistance resists in me what falls away. First nothing, just wait patiently with this incurable disease. If it might teach me something, half smile. Let the swipe across the page surface stroke off whatever new angle I might discover if left alone, away from anyone else, unnumbered, disoriented as is probably preferable to becoming a form. Anyone's idea of what it means to be alive today, which I assume might actually be me, as is better. Any set of traits I remember slipping into as my attention loses itself in the project of creating difference. You give up for lack of the future other than a glowing field to grow out of, to escape among. Still our centripetal force is now pretty much down to the engine oil in the cracks in our footsteps left behind at intersections where we live without knowing how. Waste that rolls toward the epicenter. It does what it wants or stops. You aren't stopping, so the vice-like heat of possibility packs into slush. Hold on hard, but do something again, because there's not nearly enough time to lose a finger at this point. Make noise, no longer screaming. Shrug slightly now, they'll run down my back, the same breeze that hasn't cooled to stale after all these years, too hot for trees except from inside, with rising sun all so long in getting here after such a good start, in order back to zero again. Unless another way turns up instead. Only way home seems to be somewhere just within what I've gotten used to seeing in mirrors. Have at some point written an endlessly circulating prayer, hoping to enter its last line before next eternity arrives. This all out loud the way I started writing, and everything starts circling backward. If I speak, it'll make her a mystery, but if I don't, nobody'll believe my silence. Or am I really the one in control, and can my next word start with O while being cut open through her eye ducts and in through my mouth and down to whatever core organ maintains a membrane between blood and honey? Or is this something new from across the street, still connected to nothing because someone picked me up along their spine against their bones? On and off again, which is what I'm doing everywhere until the morning star blushes almost here, then sets some distance apart from itself, then circles inward, then leaves my eyes, and slowly to balance out somehow from the tension of any static shape. Always dropping slightly shorter, down past where every valley should run. Past here to become endless. No matter where we think this will be, it won't ever be. While listening to myself discuss certain methods used to coax an readable noise from a particular mathematical series, dissecting the centrifuge into levels, walls with depth before meeting up with a pulse, noise underneath no longer entirely able to maintain. Have forgotten the function, already missed every stop, floating now to follow. Following all these secondary currents, each better informed than they ever could have guessed, having to choose not between two options but between those, not looking anywhere without permission toward themselves all over again, because without it all, nothing makes sense. Like anything else where we turn to pull the cord string and tap it loose, its inseparable twin not even real. How else could anyone make all of it go away? Just look it right in its own eye instead and find none. Let you lift your arms out at both sides at last to beg for sanctuary there where all ends this time, sure knowing that to appear humble and apocalyptic has already found that destination once. The sky comes down to a horizon where some thought finds a rest point among shifting particles, never really done with whatever came before, that can only come back around but maybe can't anymore, as though the Earth's gravity changes depending on who walks by. Too far up the beach, nothing left inside me, I swear. If I'm she, then I'm everyone. An index card jammed into her skull, or mine, to say, remember, remember, what happened here. I mustn't forget what I'm. Don't know why I didn't ask more questions, or wonder what someone would be if I took them apart. But what is it I want so badly? So many dead people to meet, to be in a room with the first man and woman, to learn from their mistakes, see a comet smash across the nighttime sky, hear about the end of the world and dance until the lights go out and nobody cares. Togetherness takes a lot of work, of course. Just living together becomes habit after years of breathing each other's breath. One day I might wake up and find myself sitting in my old clothes next to the coffee machine while everything has changed. There are no more tears. My heart doesn't hurt. For a moment I think I'm dead. The doors have closed. This place is empty. The curtain has fallen. The stage is bare. The crowd has gone home. But it's not quite over. It's only beginning. A new life awaits us out there somewhere beyond this door marked "Do Not Disturb," outside in the
You, Tessa.